Breaking news, and this just in from the Wall Street Journal. The Congressional Budget Office is expected to estimate the cost of the Treasury's proposals to rescue Fannie and Freddie to be in the tens of billions of dollars. That's according to people who are familiar with the matter. Meantime, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke putting to rest any talk of taking Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac private today. Bernanke speaking to Congress about the mortgage insurers earlier.
It looks like the best solution at this point is to maintain their current form, but to increase the supervisory oversight, make it much stronger, which is part of the bill that's been looked at in both the House and the Senate.
My next guest says the government stepping in to handle Fannie and Freddie is the best thing that could have happened to them and to our economy. This man loves the bailout. UrbanAmerica President and CEO Richmond McCoy joins me now. Richmond, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Stuart. I do love the bailout.
But wait a second. You just heard what I reported. The General Accounting Office says if this plan goes into effect, we're talking tens of billions of dollars.
Yes.
You're still happy with it?
I'm happy with it. It's the only move you can make at this time. Looking at a $5 trillion exposure with these companies, I do think long-term they need to be broken up and taken private. But at this point, with the economy being so fragile and the housing market continuing to be so weak and in a spiral, that to upset this at this time would be just a terrible, terrible mistake. So I think going in now and taking care of this and providing some capital and guaranteeing it. Before it was a government-sponsored entity. Now it's guaranteed. So that's a little bit scary in itself.
They only need a bailout if Fannie and Freddie run out of money. They say they've got plenty of money. They could go elsewhere for money other than the taxpayer. What's wrong with that?
They can't go elsewhere because the private markets are very skeptical of them.
They could go to a sovereign wealth fund from overseas, China, Middle East, wherever. They could do that.
Well, you're seeing China being very nervous about the stock.
But they could do it.
They could do it.
They could also offer a rights issue. In other words, have their existing shareholders pay them more money to keep control of Fannie and Freddie. They could do that.
The problem is that people are smarter than that, and that they know that the collateral and much of these mortgages that are being held aren't so good. There's a high level of caliber of paper within these entities, but there's also a significant amount of not good paper. The same thing that brought down Bear Stearns and affected IndyMac. Fannie Mae and Freddie bought that as well. They didn't have any better scrutiny than anyone else in terms of what they had. And there's going to be more problems to come. So the government stepping in, it's kind of very strange. It wouldn't happen in a normal private company because you're having this entity getting, their profits are going into private hands, but the downside is being subsidized by the government. So it's very peculiar, and I think as the leadership in Congress and the new administration comes in, I think ultimately there'll be enough pressure to break up these entities.
You would rather have taxpayer, government money going in than private money. And I put it to you, you would rather have government money going in because you want the political influence over that money and those organizations.
I don't think there's an entity, private entity in the marketplace today that would come in and buy this basket of unknown securities. And that's really the issue.
One of them just raised $3 billion in a rights issue.
Yes, I saw that. But I don't think that this is so huge and the housing market is so fragile right now that the government is the only one that can come in and try to calm this down at this point. Because if these entities go away, I mean, let's look at the stock, how much value they've lost already.
Would you say the same thing to all those people who can't repay their credit card bills? Should we bail them out?
No,
Vital
sir.
to the economy?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because I think it's a different structure, it's a different amount of capital, it's a different psyche in the U.S. mind in terms of a person's home and what it means to people and this tremendous fear that's in the marketplace today. And if that continues, although I think credit cards are next, are going to have a problem, car loans as well. This is going to be rampant. I think the government, although I am not supportive of using my tax dollars to support private companies, in this instance, because we're dealing with such large entity with so much capital, $5 trillion, half of the national GDP, it's huge. So you have a real problem that needs to be slowed down and stopped. And I thought he was very cautious in the words that he used, that at this time, we don't think it's right to take it private.
All right. We thank you very much for joining us, sir. Richmond McCoy, UrbanAmerica. Thanks, sir.